Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and 1 week from today we have a new restriction list announced for the One Piece card game. It's going to be announced for Japan, so it's going to probably affect them before us, but I do think it's a good talking point of what my thoughts are going on into it, and my hopes are that if it does affect OP08, we get it at the beginning of it, because that's what happened with OP07, and the format's just fantastic here for us in the English version. So real quick before we get started, this is an opinion piece. This is just kind of to reflect on data and present my opinions, not really a call for action or complaining. I just do this. Most of my stuff is more factual and just based on evidence, but there are some opinions on here. So if you guys have some opinions of your own, love to hear them into the comments below too, and what you guys think are going to be hit for this, and what your thoughts are, I guess, of like the current format and what OP08 looks like in Japan. So anyways, some data. So this is from Noah, which I really appreciate him. If you haven't checked out their YouTube, make sure to do so. I'll have a link to the description. They do a lot of work for the Japanese and Asia meta for this card game. So they have a bunch of events that have been happening around the world in that format, and they have all the tops and all the data for it. So I wouldn't be able to have this without them. Please make sure to check them out. Again, really good stuff. So, but it really boils down to this is what their format looks like after the Hokkaido and Philippines championships series. But we have 126 Law topping, 53 Lucci, 25 Star Deck, 13 Luffy, 15 Enel, 5 Katakuri, 4 Bonnie, 4 Kalgara, and 8 other as well. So you can see that Red Purple Law is doing really well, and then our second and third are black decks, and then yellow really kind of the second, the third part from there too. So that's what I've been seeing for this format, and I think it's pretty clear that Red Purple Law is doing really well. Red Purple Law was doing so well at the beginning of the OP07 meta, I had a lot of people say, "Oh, when are you going to start complaining about Law being too good in OP07? When are we going to get hit with it?" And my result with that was mostly, let's see what our meta looks like, because it was a little bit different than OP07 in Japan, since Sakazuki was still around for most of it, and we just kind of wanted to wait for that data as well. So I also want to mention that none of the new decks are really popping up. We do see like Kalgara getting some tops, but they were mostly in like the beginning part of the format. They haven't really been doing as much in the second half, and they've just been like single bodies for that one too. So it's mostly just been like the same decks that have been topping, and not so much of like new stuff being introduced. So not necessarily a bad thing, but just an observation on that side. So and just to kind of compare, so this is OP07 topping leaders. These are strictly from regionals, and we did also have Gen Con here in the States just this past weekend, which I was at, but I haven't been able to get all the data for that. So this is a little bit outdated from that, but from what the data that we have, and my experiences from the tournaments that we had this weekend, it still looks around this, where we do have a good amount of leaders that are very viable. I think Lucci, Enel, Bonnie, Law, and Luffy are the best 5 leaders in this game, but we also do have some others trickling in, and specifically Nami. I think Nami's been doing really well and did very well this weekend as well, and there's just some good decks that are viable in this format. So this is where, again, like I'm used to for the diversity and where the meta looks like, and again, this is where Japan is. So clearly to me that Law is doing very good, if not best deck in format, and probably tier 0, if not approaching tier 0, just based on the amount of tops and wins that it's been able to get in Asia in general. And then we do have Lucci, Luffy, and Enel kind of like the second backup on that one. So and so we'll just kind of go over this. These are the cards I think are the strongest cards in the game. I don't think anyone's going to really deny that. They've been really strong in since the release. Black Maria is the new card from OP08. I'm going to read it real quick in case you haven't checked out the meta on the Asian side for what this card does. So activate main once per turn. If you have no other Black Maria, add up to 5 Dawn cards from your Dawn deck rested. Then at the end of your turn, rest Dawn. Return Dawn cards from your field to the Dawn deck until the number of Dawn cards in your field is equal to the number on your opponent's field. So this just lets you recover so much Dawn based on if you use like your leader effect from Red Purple Law. It's also a 2k counter. It's also a 3 cost, so you can play it off your leader effect, get your Dawn back, and then you'll be able to recover at the end of the turn. It's just a really silly card in a lot of ways. So there's just a lot of decks that, this was supposed to be for the new Animal Kingdom stuff, right? And that's, but they didn't make it generic enough for that to do that. And then you should know what Geeko Moria does. When your opponent plays it on curve and has the setup for it, you feel pretty bad about it. And the fact that it plays 2 cards from your trash is good. The fact that we don't have any restriction for it, that's what's really good. And maybe I kind of jumped the gun, but yeah, for Black Maria specifically, it breaks red purple law in a lot of ways. It just makes it so they can be really, really greedy with their Dawn minusing, and then they get their Dawn back from playing this 1/3 cost, which again, you don't really, even if you never use this effect, is a 2k in hand, so you don't care about it. And I really think if I was to change this card, I think it should just be restricted to Animal Kingdom Pirate Leaders, and that's what the consensus for a lot of people I've talked to about is where this card doesn't need banning necessarily, but in red purple law it's strictly terrible. And the other thing that would be impactful for this is that ban has never really done an errata or like a functional errata for a nerf for this card game. So because of that, I'm not sure if they'll crack the seal with this format as well. But I do definitely think that Black Maria and its interaction with red purple law is pretty nasty for what this card game looks like. So there's that. And then there's Geeko Moria. It's the highest value card in the game. You get the on-play effects of the cards you play as well. So it does really well. You guys have seen it. Like Rob Lucci right now, we can play it. We can play Rebecca in a 2 cost. We play Spandam, put some cards, draw a card from the top of our deck. Then we play the Spandine from the Rebecca, who was able to play the Rob Lucci from the trash. Like it's just really, really silly where we're getting with this guy. It's only going to get worse, I think, as well as we get more and more cards that get into the thresholds for this, and more cards get more synergy with Rebecca as well. And again, like it's an 8-drop 9k. This card has no business being a 9k, I'll be honest, but I think it should probably be restricted to Thriller Bark leaders in that way. I do think like it's a strong card, and we've seen like Geeko Moria has been doing okay in this format. I do think it's really strong, but there's less leader people on the deck specifically, so I think Rob Lucci still has better numbers overall. But and I also think like Black Yellow Luffy really likes this card, and I play that deck a lot, but I also think that it's like an unintended synergy with it, and it would definitely stink for Black Yellow Luffy if this card goes away, but I don't think it's make or break for the deck. You just kind of have to be a little bit more aggressive than playing Geeko Moria and bunkering up kind of idea. So I think it'll be interesting to see what this deck, what the meta looks like without Moria. I also think Perona is a really, really cool deck, and I think that if Perona has almost exclusive access to this card, it would make it more viable. And really, my worst matchup with when I play Perona is when like other decks that can play Geeko Moria play it better than me, kind of thing. But this card's been out for a bit, and I think I don't know. The only thing that I'm worried about with this one too is that they're simply reprinting this card. They're reprinting this card, which means that they at the time thought that this was at the time of printing, right? They thought the card was good, but that doesn't mean they have to get rid of it. But it also means that they might just limit this card to 1 instead of restricting it overall to being only a Thriller Bark. So I hope that doesn't happen, because that just doesn't feel good. It's the same as like restricting it. And generally, unless the card is like super broken, Bandit doesn't like banning their super rares. So but real quick, these are just some miscellaneous hits. These are just more like tiny topics of like other decks. None of these I'm hard campaigning for, so don't just be like, Eggman thinks these should be banned at all. That's not what this is. But these are just kind of like some this miscellaneous like cards that I think are strong in general, and more so just kind of talking about the decks they represent. So we've talked about Rebecca for a long time. This card probably also should have been leader locked to Dressrosa, but it is really silly, especially like late game, like being able to play Rebecca to get like a 5-cost Salva to play it. Being able to play 2 blockers and cycle 2 cards a hand out of 1 card is really, really silly. So I think that's been really strong, and just it gets so much combos, has so much synergy with Geeko Moria. It's been very good. We have Ice Age. Again, none of these I'm hard campaigning for, but -5 is a lot of reduction in this game now. And when this card was released in set 2, the KO effects were so bad from Black. Like Black was really bad in the first 2 sets. If you guys can't recall, it's like the best color in the game right now. But on release, it was really, really bad. And so this card didn't see any play. We've gotten some better effects, and now that we have stuff like Rob Lucci, the leader, and also the 4 cost, this card is nuts. It gets so much advantage. You're able to get so much removal with cards, and minusing 5 for 1, I think, is a little bit too overtuned at this point. So I wouldn't be surprised if this got hit in some way. We got Great Eruption getting hit with kind of the same idea. With on release, Great Eruption was just bad. It didn't really do anything because we didn't have effects to synergize with it. But now that Black has so many good removal effects, Ice Age has just been, I think, also in a really good spot. So we'll see if anything hits, but we'll see. We also have Impel Down All-Stars. This is mostly for Nami because Nami's been doing really well. And it's interesting because it didn't do really well in Japan for OP07. In OP08, it's not doing great, but that's also because Red Purple Laws, it's strictly worse matchup. So it's hard to be able to go for it. But I've been feeling like there's just been too many cards that you've hit out of life that just gain the advantage for Nami. And if I was just to pick one out, it'd probably be this card. This card never sees play in its actual archetype of Impel Down or Emporio. The only reason this card is played because of the trigger draw 2, and I think this card just can go away. Right? It's a silly, like, the fact that it just has so much synergy with Nami for what it does, and it's another just good trigger from deck. If I was just to choose a card to remove from the card pool for Nami, this would probably be it. So if they think that Nami might be an issue going into OP08 with Red Purple Law potentially getting hit, I think something like this, or just one of their cards that their defensive tools, I think, is good. White Snake's also pretty up there, but I'm you have to leave the 2 Dawn open for it, and the trigger effect isn't super good. So I don't know. I'm just saying Impel Down All-Stars. We'll see. You guys can say if I'm being clowny or not in the comments below. And then you're the one who should disappear. The trigger for this is really dumb too in an L, and the fact that it just like is another leader proc, but it's also just a generic yellow 0 cost event. So I think still like Anel's not doing maybe as good as I thought it would be in OP07. It's definitely good, but definitely not. I don't know if it's the best deck in this format, but the gameplay style is really good. The fact that you can play this as like a 3K counter, because you'll definitely have like a lot of cards in hand, and you'll have some restriction. Like this card will never be dead for you, kind of thing. But I don't know. It's probably not going to get hit, but I just think kind of to recognize that Anel is a really good deck in this format too. So, and then we got Pudding kind of sneaking in the bottom there. I don't think it's going to get hit, but I know a lot of people hate this card. So if people complain about it enough, they might hit it. But it's still really, really dumb. It's a dumb card in a lot of ways. So anyways, my wish list, restriction list, Moria and Maria are errata just to their leaders in general. I think that'd be a good hit for it. I don't know if they're going to break the seal again on errataing, like using like a nerf errata for cards to circumvent banning or restricting them. They haven't really done that in their card games, and I don't know if they're going to do that. So there and potential minor hits that we talked about, but we'll see. Honestly, like the only one I like, Ice Age and the Impel Down All-Stars, I'd be okay with those cards not being at least at 4 copies in this game, but we'll see. And then also I want it to be live on English OP08 release. So again, we kind of talked about OP07 meta being really good. I like being able to have, even if it's just minor, a different format than Japan, so we have at least something different that we can test with and experiment with, compared to just kind of knowing what the meta looks like on day one. So like OP06, I felt like was a really, really lengthy meta that didn't really change throughout it, just because we knew Sakazuki was getting banned, but it took 3 months for it to happen. So I really hope they take the what they did for the OP07 meta and do the same for OP08. So that's kind of my idea for that one. So and then the predicted Bandai list. So that's what I want, and this is what I think is actually going to happen. I think they're just going to restrict Black Maria to 1, to be honest. They don't like banning super rares in any of their games, based on my own experience with it. And the idea with it is that I think they want to say like, oh, any card that you open, you can play. And especially since super rares are higher rarity, I think they want to kind of prevent you from saying, oh, you get the good card. Actually, that card's so good we can't play with it. Like the hit in your pack goes away, but if you can play the card at 1, it's technically still a viable hit in a pack. That's my headcanon. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just always what I've thought, because there's definitely a lot of like cards that could be just hit to 0, but now they're like Saki 1-ofs because they're super rares kind of thing. So I also think Moria either restricted to 1 or just untouched. It's made it this far, and again, it is getting reprinted in the reprint set. So I think that they might just not do anything with it. But again, it could just be restricted to 1. And I don't know when they'd be planning on releasing this. I really do hope it's OP08 on release. I hope we have our own unique meta, even if it's just like a tiny minor one. So that's really it for this video. I know probably nothing too crazy, but these are just my thoughts and based on the data that I've been able to go over as well. So that's going to be it. Also, again, make sure to follow Noah on YouTube. I have his links in the description as well. Really, really good resource as well, and would not be able to make as much of this video without them too. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you all next time.
Damn it. Damn it.